Hello and welcome to the Red Report, powered by the best of Barnsley and part of the TalkSport networks of fans. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll probably see there's a little window missing because there's just two of us. And Steve is running late. He's promised us he will make it. We don't know if that's this week or next week, but he will make it. But as well, do we need Steve? Is the question we've got. As always, the man with the best vlogs and blogs on the internet. It's Ian from the Tigers blog. Ian, good evening.
Good evening, Carlo.
How are we doing?
Good. I'm good, yeah, I'm very well, thank you. All the better for 3 points. It makes everything easier on a Thursday night.
It's really strange, but it's like we had a good run before Christmas, then we started iffy in the new year, and we're back in the swing of things, aren't we? And I think the fixture we've had might have helped with that a little bit, but you have to play everybody twice, so it don't matter. Let's talk first about the whole match last weekend. They talked about wanting an atmosphere. The club tried all sorts beforehand to create an atmosphere. Khaled and one of the people from the board, they were in the Pontiand singing and cheering. And I mean, results-wise, decent. Waters and Williams score for Barnsley. 2-0 win against Home Cambridge. I mean, if you're going to create an atmosphere, that's what the fans need, isn't it?
Yes. I thought by and large it was a good day at the office, wasn't it? On and off the pitch. Yes, we'll talk about Waters' red card, which took the shine off it slightly. But I was pleased for him to get a goal. And Williams proving his worth again. And he ended up in the team of the week, didn't he, for his goal and stuff. Then you saw like the board members as the Pontiand Ultras, I think Top Gun. But to be fair, I was watching it. I follow, and the noise was coming through. You could hear it coming through. I thought it helped massively when you go down, play more of the game with 10 men. So it really helped. So I think Duff had asked for it, the board had asked for it, the fans delivered, and the players delivered on the pitch, didn't they? In the end.
We talked about Williams last week and the week before, and I think it was Steve that mentioned like we need that a little bit more. Obviously, Barry Cotter is now sort of lurking, in and around the squad, on the bench at least. Well, the answer is cricket to the critics, didn't it? Because I'm telling you what, any striker couldn't have struck that cleaner as what Jordan Williams did he?
Well, Luke O'Connell had a go at trying to beat it the other night, didn't he?
Yeah,
Port Vale, I'll give him
that.
He probably went over to Williams and said, "Yeah, I beat that one." But really well taken. It weren't easy to get it down, and it fizzes out at you from across and stuff, and you got all them bodies of players in front of you. Yeah, it's sweetly struck. It was just what they needed. That.
I might as well mention it now before the swearing starts when Steve gets home. So Waters scores on 7 minutes, which is a great way to start a match. Let's face it.
Yeah.
I know they outdid them again like a few days after when we scored in 26 or 24 seconds, but 7 minutes is decent, isn't it? Yeah. And I was commentating for Hospital Radio, and I said he looks a very sort of physical striker. At times, I just worry that because it's a thin line, isn't it, between being physical and putting your weight about. Yeah. And then we don't have the benefit of replays from where I sit, but from other press that were there, they said it was a definite. First of all, how did you view it? Is that, do you think, a character trait that we need to watch out for? Is it something that happened that you think is probably just unfortunate? Or how did you view that incident?
Yeah, I won't want to condemn the lad and say it's something that's a trait in him, and we've not seen enough of him. I won't like to write the lad off and go, he's a bit of a loose cannon. I just it was a naughty challenge. He deserved to go. He weren't even looking at the ball. He was looking at the defender. Made no attempt to go for it and led with his arm. It was a straight red, no complaints. And I felt sorry for him really because he's come and not been match fit. Gets himself match fit, scores after 7 minutes, everything's looking rosy, and then that happens and it's a 3-match ban, and it's almost like snakes and ladders. He's 2 steps forward, 3 back, isn't he? So yeah, I don't want to condemn the lad. It might just be an unfortunate situation. He wasn't like a marauding bull round the pitch from word go, was he? Kicking lumps out of everybody. I think it's just, I'm sure he'll learn from it. I'm sure he knows he's let himself down. Thankfully, it wasn't too critical, and we didn't drop points. And we've got players who can step up. Norwood has come back in, hasn't he, to replace him. So we've got, and we may talk about this, but we're starting to see a little bit of strength in depth now. which is going to be ideal as we get into the last third of the season.
It is, because when you look at the bench now, it's made up of what I would call players that, you know, if you forecast your 11, you know, you probably think, well, he does have a claim. They're all first-team players, rather than making numbers up from the under-23s, and that's not being disrespectful to the under-23s. But at times, you did feel that they were on there just to fill a place. I mean, and I suppose brings it down to, which we're going to talk about in a bit, that the transfer window has been really successful, because everybody is involved, at least of being in the squad now, isn't it? Which is... There was a lot made of, oh, well, they're fit and can they play and all this. But if you look at Waters, he came in one of the first buys. And like you say, extremely unlucky, isn't he? Because no one's injured. He obviously gets the shout above, like, you know, Ollie Shaw or JLo or anybody. And then he's out for 3 matches. And there's some big matches coming up as well. But the strength in depth, you know, we saw Jonathan Russell. I mean, that's a man mountain, isn't it? We talked about it before. Great to see that the players that were bought are actually already involved and didn't need that 2-3 week sort of run up. How pleasing was it, though, that you get somebody sent off in the 37th minute? I thought tactically he got his spot on, Duff, by changing that formation. Because if I remember right, he put Williams and made it a back four. Was it like 4-3-3, I think that was, no, not 4-3-3, 4-3-2 or whatever we started playing. How pleasing is it that you get somebody sent off in the 37th minute and we still managed to get a clean sheet and score another goal?
Oh yeah, you can't write it any better, can you? Granted, the opposition are in a bit of poor form, but that their tails must have gone up when Waters got sent off. They were only 1-0 down at that point. But yeah, it shows the other side of the players, the manager, that they've had to think about it at half time, had that reshuffle, come out second half and won both halves of the game and got the 3 points. A clean sheet is in the bonus. I think Harry Isted's not done much wrong since he's come in either. I don't know whether it's a policy with Duff that some of our signings are man mountains. You know, you look at Bobby Thomas, you look at Ollie Shaw's big striker, Waters. But no, I don't mean we're being a big cloggers or anything like that. Far from it. We can play football, but we've got some big lads in there right through the team, and that's what you need in it. You need a big, strong spine in this division. But yeah, very pleasing. Good day at the office all round, wasn't it? You know, to recover like that. That could have gone horribly wrong and drop points against a poor Cambridge side.
And it was, you know, there was an atmosphere created by the fans, which is good, because this was, it's a bit like a dress rehearsal, isn't it, for some of the big upcoming home matches that we've got. So, you know, Khaled, the board, they can be pleased, can't they? On the pitch, things went really well, and that sort of radiated to off the pitch, and people, you know, in full voice, everybody singing along to the fact that
just got to keep it going. Keep it going. It needs momentum, doesn't it? We don't want a one-off. We know, like, the next home game is going to be is it Derby, the next home one, and there's 5,000 away fans. So that's the big challenge. Got to keep it going between now and the end of the season and build it up, not be a flash in the pan and it all go quiet again from the board and from the fans as well. We need it at Oakwell to keep bouncing, don't we?
And the atmosphere is one thing, but obviously results is another thing that we need to keep going, which then obviously they tried on Tuesday night, Valentine's night. Love was in the air at Port Vale. Well, definitely for the Reds. And if when you talk about wanting a good start, and I know Port Vale are you know, struggling a little bit with attendances and everything else, to score in, I don't know if it were 24, 25 or 26 seconds, but in within half a minute, to score really set the storyline, didn't it? It was, and at that point, I don't know about you, but I thought, you know, the other week when I forecasted the 4-0 and it never happened, I thought this could be the one. Maybe I peaked too early. I mean, talk about the goal first. That's how we want to start matches, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it was like the Cambridge game. You score early, you get a foothold in the game, don't you? Somebody like Cambridge at home, who may have played at KG, straight away they're on the back foot. 7 minutes, they're 1-0 down. You're in control of the game. Away at Port Vale, we knew it'd be tricky. We saw it in the Pizza Cup, didn't we? They flew at us in that first half. dominated us and beat us comfortably. The pitch we knew was going to be ropey. Despite them being mid-table, they're a tricky place, teams, and a tricky place to go to. We've not got a great record there at all. So to score after 25 seconds, it's like, oh, hang on a minute, this is just what we needed. And it really did set the stall out for the rest of the game.
I suppose two things can happen then, can't there? You can either, the opponent, I mean, I'm not saying they lose faith because you've still got 89.5 minutes to play, but you either, you grab the game by the throat and you go and try and score the second one, or the opposition almost feels like, well, we have to go for it now, early on the match. And that's sort of what happened, wasn't it? Because Port Vale, from minute 2, let's say, really grew into the match, didn't they? They dominated possession, they found each other, and they were threatening at times. 14 minutes in, they get the goal. I mean, at that point, that was deserved, wasn't it?
Yes, they certainly were turning the screw a little bit. We were on the back foot, and a bit of a ding-dong game, really, wasn't it? Because then we end up like retaking the lead, but they really did cause us problems and deserve that equaliser.
It's another sort of side to the Michael Duff team, I suppose, that we saw Port Vale start like the Clappers, go a goal up, a little bit not disorganised, but the opponent is able to nullify our game and take control of the game, and they then score. 7 minutes later, if I remember rightly, Liam Kitchen, 21st minute, 2-1. It's all smiles again, and that's where that confidence is so important, isn't it? We're on this run that we've not lost in 4 by that time, and knowing we can score goals. I mean, Liam Kitchen, I tipped him for the Cambridge match, and obviously he was nowhere to be seen. He peaked late again, like I normally do. And he popped up again, and at that time again, Barnsley in front, and deservedly so.
Yeah, what's been good this season is when we have had blips in a season. We saw it when we lost at home 1-0 to Lincoln and lost at at Morecambe. We bounced back and had a great November and December. We had a bit of a shocking start to this year, not scoring in 3 games, getting beat 3-0, 3-0, 2-0. And we bounced back with this 5-game unbeaten run. And I just think we can roll our sleeves up and mix it. We can play some expansive football when we want. We can really adapt. I think Duff's really brought his persona on the squad. We were worried we might. Evening, Stephen.
Morning. Look, no hands.
Evening, boys. Sorry about that.
Another later.
What can I say?
At least he's not premature.
Hey, no better. Euthanasia for the over 70s. That's what I say.
Oh, go, Steve, don't. We're already recording, mate. Let's just leave it there.
Oh, now you tell me. Carry on, boys. Carry on. Forget I'm here.
Well, we'll bring you in now, Steve. We're talking about Port Vale. Fantastic start, 1-0. We then sort of get a little bit disorganised. Port Vale, on the up, they score an equaliser. Kitchen then puts us back into the lead. And then another player you talked about last week, we talked about maybe Russell coming in for Phillips. You questioned Phillips. He answered your question there again with another goal, Steve.
Yeah, and if he's going to come off bench and score, I'm quite happy with that. I'll be quite honest. I'm assuming you've already spoke about previous game where he were on and didn't do a great deal at all. So maybe he's make your mind up. For me, if that's what he can do coming off bench, I'd have him coming off bench. I didn't watch Tuesday night's game because stream was up and down and in and out, and it were rubbish, to be quite honest. Obviously, soaked goals. That's got to be up there with, I would have thought, goal at season this season, the way that he took that. But yeah, after Saturday's performance, I just wondered whether they'd just play with 10 men on Tuesday night, because that's all they needed, wasn't it?
You talked about the goal. I mean, the Connell goal we just said. Watter scores in the 7th minute at home to Cambridge. and we think that's a fantastic start. And then Connell goes 5 days later. I did it in 30 seconds. Jordan Williams scores a perler of a shot from outside the area at home to Cambridge. And, Luca Connell again says, oh, look at this. You know what I mean? It's great to see that the goals are now coming from all over. Just a quick word for you now that you're here. We talked earlier about the Wattis incident. Unfortunate, deserved a red, but we can't really sort of, you can't write him off for that, can you? These things happen, and there's been plenty of Barnsley players that's got a red card on their home appearance or on their home debut that have gone on to make quite a name of themselves. Our old number 27, Alex Mowat, just as a starter for 10. There's been others.
Yeah.
It was a red card, Steve, but hopefully he'll learn from this and come back a better, more controlled player. Or how do you view that one?
No, I don't think he'll come back as a better, more not necessarily a better. He'll not come back as a more controlled player, because it's same as Norwood, isn't it? If you remember when Norwood got sent off a few matches ago, every now and again that red mist descends, and if you're that type of player and that type of temperament, boom, it happens, it's done, and you sat off for 3 games. He'll regret doing it. I'm sure he does. But he'll come back into the side. I still think he needs to show that he's worth his place. For as much running about and what have you as Cole and Norwood are doing, the keeping is there. So, such as Watters and Shaw have really got to put a shift in to sort of dislodge them. But nailed on red card. Silly boy, don't do it again. It'll not affect him at all. It's part and parcel of his make-up, same as it is with Norwood. They expect a red card every now and again. And it's same as, in some matches he'll get away with it, in some matches they don't. And that was just one that he didn't. Yeah.
Forgot to mention as well that on, I think it was Saturday, actually, some of the teams around us sort of dropped some points, or last Tuesday, I can't remember which one it was. Table looking healthy. Barnsley, 29 games played. On 53 points, we're a point behind Derby, but we have got a game in hand, and we're 4 points below Ipswich and 2 games on hand. So obviously, before Derby come to town, there is I suppose it's the Michael Duff homecoming, isn't it? Back to his old town, his old stomping ground. Well, it is his home still, anyway, isn't it? That's where wife and children still live. At home. Half decent, comfortable victory over Cheltenham. Is there anything to suggest that Saturday will be different, Steve?
No, do you know what? I don't think it is. You mentioned teams around us. I think Ipswich are hitting a bit of a poor patch, which is good for us and poor for them. Same with Derby. Derby's dropped a few points. I'm hoping we've had our blip, and we can come back and just keep getting stronger and stronger. Down to 10 men and played brilliantly. Played really well Tuesday night for most part of game. And I think we're hitting sort of momentum probably at the right time for March, because let's face it, March is going to be make or break for the season, to be quite honest. So no, I think they'll carry that through. They'll carry that positivity through. And, for me, another 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah. In the news this week, Ian, Luke Thomas is going to travel again with the squad. Michael Duff saying, he's quite an extrovert. He needs to be around people. He inspires people. Is it sort of written? So we won 1-0 at home versus Cheltenham. A goal scored by Luke Thomas. Bit of a fairy tale, wouldn't it, if he were to come on for the last 10, 15 minutes and not the winner. They've got 1 win in 5. We're unbeaten in 5. 4 wins, 1 draw. Comfortable away victory again?
I won't go as far as say I think we'll have to work hard for it. I'm like Steve. I think ultimately the class should show. I think they'll be spirited. They'll want to make a point against their old manager. There's no doubt about that. It'd be, totally expectant of them to be like that. But I think we've got to match them for work rate, which I'm sure we will, and I'm sure Duff will warn our players about that. But I think really, when over 90 minutes, we should have too much for them. We're scoring goals right through the team. You know, when we try and predict a scoreline and a goal scorer, not that we're rubbish at doing it, which we probably are a little bit, but you just never know. It could be Kitchen, it could be a midfielder, then a striker pops up. So I think we should have too much for him on the day. And with Wickham playing Bolton, it's a real chance to gain on one or both of them as well, which would be handy.
Yeah. You first, and Steve, would you make any changes to the team that started against Port Vale on Tuesday for this one? Is there anybody that you thought? Obviously, Russell came off for Phillips, so that was a change. I don't know if you look at those two; they are sort of different, I suppose, isn't it? Russell for me is far more that central midfield. He can play a pass. He's there to stop them coming. Phillips at times probably goes a little bit more forward. Would you make any changes, or would you start within that midfield? Would you leave Phillips?
No, I think I'd go with same team. I suppose the only thing that well, obviously I'm not going to change, but it seemed that Russell actually played in what I would have called Connell's position, and Connell played more on left, Kane on right, which suited Kane, by the way. And although Connell did score a great goal, I still think Connell plays better in that more sitting defensive position. And when Russell went off, Connell dropped back, Phillips came on. I just think Connell looks a better player there. Not that he's not an absolutely brilliant player anyway. I don't know whether it gives him a bit more time. He gets stuck in. He can find a pass from there. That might be the only change I would make, and just let Russell maybe push forward that little bit more. I don't know. The two very different, but then again, in some respects, two similar players, aren't they?
Yeah. Any changes for you? I mean, the future's quite bright, isn't it? Because we're now already discussing some of these January, people that have come in. Should they be part of the starting 11? What do you see it the same as Steve, Ian?
I do. I think the only question mark is that Phillips or Russell. I agree with Steve. We've said it even when Phillips went on that run in November, December, when I think he scored some like 4 or 5 games in a row. He's not your 90-minute man, but he'll go and score a pearler. So is he an impact player, or is he a 60-minute man? I've not worked out where he is, and I'm not pouring cold water on his goals, and he's chipped in really well. But if you want a solid 90-minute performance, he's not quite your man, but he'll probably win a game. He's that, isn't he? He's chalk and cheese. So it depends on the fitness of Russell. I think that's the only spot, and I agree with Steve Reed Connell. It's almost like he's our quarterback. He's just in front of the defence, and he's got all in front of him to look at, and he can turn back and he protect the back three. He can give it to the back three, get it back and reassess it, and he can ping balls. And he always arrives late in the box or the edge of the box to fire in like he did the other night. And I'd play him in that central role. But other than that, I think the team's picking itself. But the bench is much stronger. We're in a much better position now than we were last couple of months.
I'm liking the look of this new keeper as well. I've got to be honest.
Yeah,
I was just going to mention. We've mentioned his name once, but a lot's been made about Collins. He's out for a month or so. Harry Eisted got the.
Here's your chance, Harry. Here's your chance.
In one of the groups on Twitter, the group chats, his dad, Harry Eisted's dad's actually in the group, and saying that he's absolutely loving it. He is out of contract at Luton end of this season, so potentially.
There's a carrot for him.
He's been called upon a couple of times, and he's been there. He let a goal in that couldn't be helped, but his head didn't go down. I think his distribution, he's I can't say second to none, but at times I feel easier than with Collins. And nothing against Brett Collins because he's been solid, but with Iceland, I don't feel twitchy bum at times like he's going to drop a clanger.
There's a lot more confidence. There's a lot more confidence in Eisted. I think you look at where he carries himself on pitch, and the way he sort of patrols his area with his back three, back five. I think he makes you feel safer. I certainly watch him, and like you said, with Collins at times, balls used to come through. He'd come rushing out of his area. 9 times out of his 10, he'd get rid of ball, and that's fine. But you always thought that he weren't always there or on ball. Whereas with Eisted, I've got a lot more confidence in just the few games that I've seen him in.
Yeah, agree.
He seems a really good addition, and obviously the hope is then, well, you would presume with Walton going to Luton, he could do a job for us, couldn't he? He seems very short, and I suppose what helps as well is he's got a very settled back three in front of him that know the role, inside out. Right, a little bit then. Carlo, CEO, did an interview with the BBC Radio Sheffield, talked about loads of things. Apparently, there had been bids for players. They were able to turn them all down because of the cash injection that happened into the club by board members at the start of this season. Talked about having a successful transfer period, and I think you'd have to say we have, because everybody that we brought in is either starting or on the bench and able to play. We might have seen, but we've seen a bit of Barry Cotter. Ollie Shaw came on the other day. Watters scored. And
I saw Barry Cotter yesterday, funnily enough, walking up past one stop, up round back of Shambles Street. He got a 12-pack of Coors in his hand. So I'm sure he were on for a good after. I nearly pulled car over and went with him. But obviously, he'd either been down Oakwell or something. But yeah, so big shout out to Barry. I hope you enjoyed your drink.
Well, I would presume he might be in one of the apartments at Gateway Plaza, because we know the club's got a couple of apartments there. So he's probably been put up in that one. It's been a successful period. We talked about it before. Bobby Thomas, we're not even talking about no more, but it's the lad on loan who's been a godsend. Really, really tightened up on the defence and chipped in with a couple of goals already. We talked a little bit about Jonathan Russell, and I'm sure, if we can ignite that spark, we'll have a fantastic player. On the other way, though, interesting piece from you today, Ian, that the loan actually is working really well the other way as well. Jasper Moon, it's funny.
AKA Beckenbauer.
Yeah.
Always said it, right player.
Obviously, it's half term and therefore I'm not working. But when I go to work every morning, I leave my house at 7:20, and he drives past, and then we get to the junction. He goes towards the M1.
You drive past him, not he's the other way around.
No. And he's doing well, Ian. He got man of the match. Is this maybe what he needed, or is this maybe the change? Sometimes, a change, a different club, maybe not so much pressure on him. It's been good for him.
It has. A couple of the Burton fans who gave us their opinion on him. He played 3 games. They've been on this winning run. He's in this 3. Plays alongside one of their best centre halves, who gives them that confidence. But they're just saying that they don't know whether, is it that fresh start, new motivation. They also said maybe, and we've said this before, smaller crowd that's not on his back. We've said it before, haven't we, with Cibic and a few others, that even Anderson in the early days, you get the ball, and especially in Championship, when you've got 14,000 and they're all moaning at you behind the Ponty end, it can be nervous for a young lad, but fair play to him. It seems to have reinvigorated him, and they're over the moon with him. They're doing I
like it, over the moon with him.
But yeah, like what they did with Big Vic, he got 12 goals and a £500,000 move. Moon's flying and doing well.
And Steve, obviously, he's doing well. For us at the moment, he is in the sort of pecking order.
Get to it.
Company's probably still in front of him. What I'm saying is, if they were to buy him, we'd probably sell him.
Yes, simple answer. For me, whatever we can get for him, I would take and put towards Thomas to keep Bobby Thomas, because he's been outstanding since he's come. He's just the sort of player that fits in. You can see he's got, we talk about sweat on shirt and blood on his socks, if you want. And he's definitely stepped in for us. I'd be pulling all stops out to get him to stay. And if that meant selling Moon, get what you can for him, and
you'd wonder, wouldn't you? Are we hoping and praying that Burnley get promoted? Because no disrespect to Bobby Thomas, he's not likely to be a first pick in the Premier League, is he? And they're likely to then want to buy as well to cope with being in the Premier League. So if they actually go up, there's a good job. There's a good chance he may be surplus to requirements of Burnley.
Yeah.
So if we can this might be what he's thinking and what Duff's thinking, and we might.
Do we know what sort of contract he's on at Burnley? Has he got a long time left? Or...
I just know Moons is up in the summer, so we're probably not going to get anything for him because he's literally up. So he'll probably go for now. But I'm not sure with Thomas. But I think if they go up, which they look like they're going up, he's not likely to be playing in Premier League, would he? He wouldn't be playing in League One, would he? If he was going to be playing in Prem for them.
Bobby Thomas has got a contract that will keep him at Burnley until 2024. So he's got another year on his contract. But that would be his final year. And in fairness, just the wages and everything. And, if he wants to play Championship football, which obviously he wants to do, then, a great way. Well, it serves both purposes, doesn't it? He gets what he wants. And
I suppose you've hit nail on head there, Carlo, to be honest. His wages, what will he be on at Burnley? And no matter how much we like him and like what he's done, could we afford him?
Well, it's interesting because Burnley are not, splash the cash kind of, but they will be far more than probably what we could offer him. I suppose what Duff maybe, because he knows the club and knows that, he might just play for us a year and maybe be able to get that more. I mean, listen, we don't know, but
he's probably one of the deals that might be reliant on if we go up.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe, that's the problem with that. But yeah, I'd keep him. I'd love him to stay.
Oh, 100%. Future captain, tell you now.
No, Connell's future captain. You can't say that at every player that you like. That's cheating.
If Connell plays like this next season, I can see a big bit coming in and him doing well elsewhere. But listen, start thinking about the score forecast against Cheltenham, which I'm going to ask you about in a minute. Just looking even further ahead, the home game with Derby, the club wants colour. They want people to bring the scarves. They want to fill Oakwell, not with scarves, but with people wearing scarves. Lots of colour. Which that made me think, I know they're doing a lot before kickoff. We know this. We said it last week. Fantastic. Whether it's worked, I don't know, but they tried a lot. Goal music. Steve, you are our resident...
I'm glad you went to Steve first.
What when you said before?
Is this when the score? Is this what we're saying?
Yeah, because I think when the score, obviously we clap anyway, but sometimes with some music, it's proper. You know what I mean? It just doubles in sort of intensity, doesn't it? What sort of goal music would you like to see? So I'm thinking like, the Fratellis, where everybody's singing and dancing and there's movement and all that
White Stripes.
White, yeah.
Seven Nation Army.
Yeah. Steve, what do we need? What do we need against that? Because that is one of them. 5,000 fans.
Well, for a start, what we need is a football club that listens to us about music, don't we? Let's be honest. Because knowing where this conversation is going to go, we'll end up with bloody clapping song for every time we score a goal. But no, obviously not. It's got to be Birdie song would be really good. Let's face it, you need some ice hockey. I went to ice hockey a few times year before. And every time they score, they play music nearly all the time, and it's short, sharp, boom. So you haven't got time for no quick build, no slow build up or out like that. Ball, it's back at net, and it's got to be there, and it's got to be somewhat memorable. Which makes it difficult, really, when you think about it.
I don't know what the rules are, but a couple of seasons ago, when my daughter was playing, I went to watch quite a few 2020 cricket at Headingley. And, when somebody hits a four, it's just for... And I know at Oakwell, we play when a goal's gone in, but I know this, if the opposition has a shot at goal and it goes 6 foot over and 9 feet wide, is there not something you can play then? I don't know what the rules are, but...
Probably not.
No, that might be a little bit too much when you think about it, won't it? Because let's face it, if one of their players hits a ball and you stood behind net and it goes however high and however wide, we're not bothered about music because we're too busy waving at him, aren't we? With certain hand gestures. Let's be honest.
I thought, and I can remember going to Headingley, and I don't even do cricket that much, and actually thinking, why is there a better atmosphere? And I know cricket is short burst, isn't it? Somebody bowls, somebody bats, and there's a bit of frantic, activity, and then it's still again, and then we wait again, and then they bowl again. So I suppose it lends itself more to having music. But there was a fantastic atmosphere. I'm thinking when Derby come,
how many goals are we scoring against Derby?
I was just going to say you've got to score before you can play music.
It's not a basketball match.
when the teams come on, the things that throw the flames are just to build something. Because
me and Steve are bringing our jerry cans. Remember, we mentioned it.
There we go. You see, I've got some matches and some 4-star. Don't worry about that. They're unleaded. Get it on.
Because, and again,
do they still get 4-star?
A lot of people will be like, "What's he going on about now?"
Because they talk about atmosphere. Don't forget, those players come out of the tunnel, and the first thing they hear, till they get to about the halfway line, is the 5,000 Derby fans. Because there's nobody in the West Stand. The East Stand is too far, and not. So the one thing they hear, even the Barnsley, the first thing they hear, and the one thing they hear until they get to the halfway line, is Barnsley fans shouting and screaming because the Barnsley fans are stood like this, clapping the time rider. So I just think more. Listen, I just think we'll put it out there. Nobody will listen, but if the club, have a think about doing something during the match rather than before kickoff, and then it just sort of drops down.
Well, your obvious one, I suppose, for if they do score, and obviously we are relying on them scoring, is a bit of Spandau Ballet, because it sounds very, very similar, doesn't it?
Well, but would you have something different for players? So if Devante Cole scores, goal, everybody's going goal. You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So if Luca Connell scores, do we play Tell Me Ma? Tell Me Ma. When it's Irish.
Oh, is that not a racist comment, that, Carlo?
No, it's Irish. He's Irish. It's like, when we play Derby, he's going to come up against Conor Honohan. It's going to be the battle of the Irish midfielders. Right, enough about Derby. Let's go first things first. Cheltenham away. Well, Duff's first love against his second love. Steve, seeing as you came in late, you'll get penalised with the first prediction. First Barnsley goal scorer, full-time result, please.
Did I not say for last Saturday's game that Watters would score? Because you were going to listen back to last week's show, didn't you? And I'm sure that I did.
Yes, you did.
But then again, I'm not that sure because I'm old and my brain's gone.
I listened back and you did.
I think this Saturday it will be 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0 this Saturday. And I'm going to go with... oh dear, I don't want to drag it out too. I haven't got a flipping clue is what I haven't got. You know what? Stuff it. Connell's going to have another one. He's going to have a runner, a couple of games with a goal a game.
Very good. Ian?
I'm going to go Bobby Thomas, and I think it'll be a 2-goal advantage, but I'm going 3-1.
I was going to go 3-1. I will go 3-1 because I'll tell you what, I'll go 3-0. I'll go 3-0, Devante Cole. Because,
it's 2-1. We know that.
I saw a lot of different opinions about Devante Cole. I've stayed my client, I'll say it again. I think he works incredibly hard. Sometimes lack of service or people around him, plays with different strikers. I saw a tweet like, what's he doing in a red shirt? But to me, he works. Sometimes it's to work off the ball as well, isn't it? He works defenders. He makes them chase. Would you start Devante Cole, or do you actually say no? Go with Norwood and Shaw, or who would you go with? Who would you go with up front this week?
Cole and Norwood.
Yeah, I would. I think it works. That he does a lot that's unseen that people don't see, and therefore criticise him. Yes, we'd like to see more goals out of him, but his work rate, the way he joins up play. And I just think, obviously, Watters is suspended. Shaw's not quite up to speed yet. I'd give him another few games. Unless these new lads suddenly come in and start scoring, and you might have a decision to make, I'd keep it the same too.
Same too with Teddy Chomp bench. I'd like to see a bit more of Teddy. Now he's back. Yeah. Let's see a little bit more of him.
Duff's raving about him, isn't he?
What I say, Duff's saying he don't know what they've done, but he feels like there's a different player that's come back, and I think that's probably the one that he brought in. But worked very hard when he came on in the last match. Lads, thank you very much. Let's hope for that another away victory. whether it's 2-0, 3-1, or 3-0. As long as Devante Cole scores first, it don't really matter what the how many goals that we score. And then we'll be back next week. It'll be interesting because we're then going in a run where besides Bristol Rovers, we then see the likes of Derby coming. We've got Portsmouth coming. We've got Plymouth coming. We're going away to Wickham. So all the teams either just below us or straight above us, we play like in a row. So that's going to be interesting. Steve, thank you much for joining us eventually this evening.
I'll try and be on time next week, sir.
Don't worry about it. I know you said you were at your mum's, but I'm pretty sure you watched the end of the Man United game. But it's okay.
No, didn't watch any of it, to be quite honest, mate. I don't even what final score. I don't even know what final score was.
Well, we stopped watching when it was 2-2. So I don't know what the final score. Yeah.
Are you joking? Yeah. You're joking, aren't you?
No.
I think it's finished 2-2.
I know Rashford should have had a penalty apparently because I listened to it on radio.
It finished 2-2. Yeah.
Wow. Oh look. No, Carlo, it's gone on to something else. Who's that? Who's that woman? That picture of that woman is.
What position?
What's she doing with that? Carlo, take your phone down. We're recording.
Delete your search history.
What a shit! That's a disgrace. That.
Listen, you know the job that Ian's got. Stop it. Right. Anyway, you've been listening to the Reds Report with Ian from the Times Blog and Steve. My name is Carlo van der Watering. Thank you very much for listening. We are powered by.
Time to go.
Bye.